parish. So there's no question
It's being recorded
without me even having to count. So that's good. So just like that, we are at item 4 on the agenda. Hopefully at home you have a copy of the agenda. This was attached to the notice of the worship service earlier. So, adoption of the minutes of last year's meeting. In your pack, this is the first enclosure, the first couple of pages of the pack. So if I could have a motion, please, to accept these minutes as a true record of last year's annual meeting. Thank you, Rooney, Wardener. Seconder, please. Thank you, Aldo. All those in favour? Wonderful. Thanks very much. Okay, we come to the Rector's report, and really, I guess part of the report was what I was trying to say in the sermon this morning, which is that, we have been still in times of transition. It's been a really long time that we've been in transition as a parish. And just as we thought we were getting used to the personnel, suddenly we have a transition forced on us, which is the pandemic. And so the 2 years that we've had have been years, as I said in the sermon, are years of loss. And we can think of many losses to our parish, but also 2 years of preparation. And there is a day coming where we will step into the new things that God has planned for us. I thought that this scripture from Isaiah was especially important for us at this moment. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. And we're living that promise. I want to begin with gratitude for many people, particularly those who are no longer going to be on the vestry today. And so I want to acknowledge Nancy Boss, who is today reaching the end of her 4-year term. Lisa Gallagher, similarly. Lisa can't be here today. She's preparing for some medical treatment tomorrow, but she sends her love, and she's at the end of her 4-year term. And also Gail Jacob, who has been warden for 4 years. She really has been a phenomenal presence in my life as well as the life of the parish. And as a tribute, I kind of thought about the 4 letters of her name and made a little mnemonic for her in celebration of her time as warden. The G is for generous. She has been extraordinarily generous, mostly with her time. You don't see what she does here. I'm in the building, Monday to Friday, and I see her coming in, doing all sorts of things that nobody really notices. The amount of time she devotes to supporting the parish and to serving us in 1,000 ways is truly amazing. And that as well, generosity with her energy and her skills. She has more energy than I do. It's the truth. The A is for advisor. And she has been a really excellent advisor to me for these 4 years. I regularly meet somebody who, when I have an idea, is going to say to me, have you really thought about that? And Gail has done that several times. She has stopped me blundering into making a howling mistake.
Sure.
But she's done it always with grace. Her wisdom is second to none. And also she is courageous, because to say no to things sometimes involves courage, especially when the rector wants to do something which would be a complete disaster. The L stands for loyal. She is totally confidential in everything that she hears. She always puts the parish first, which should really go without saying, but actually it doesn't, because so many people in ordained leadership in the church and lay leadership, they're kind of there for their own kind of wishes to be enacted or their own kingdom to be built. But Gail is always about the parish. She's never about what she wants personally, always about what is good for the parish. And finally, I couldn't find a proper initial for this, but to make it work, I'm saying egalitarian. Because her big passion, her soul, is all about justice and the kingdom of God and inclusion, and that's what's on her heart, and that's how she has been leading us with the rest of us at this table, and how she will continue to serve us and our community as we go forward. So it's with real sorrow, but also with immense gratitude that Gail, I present you with this little token of our love and appreciation.
Those of you on Zoom, please mute yourselves.
You can, yes.
I have to stay close to it. Okay. I want to say that I've been lucky to serve in my 4 years with Jeff Dunham, with Alec Reynolds, and Andy. We were all fortunate also to have the support of Kevin Moore, our gold standard treasurer, who was also known as the professor of the PPP loan. I'm very happy that Elisa Gallagher will be the new warden. She'll be great. And as a parish, we're beyond blessed to have Duncan and Chris for our clergy and have Mark for our music. I hope people will gain two things from the meeting, both here and at home: a renewed sense of spiritual and social connection and an understanding of our finances. It's been a pleasure to serve as a warden most of the time, but it's been an honor all of the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail, and lots of other people to be grateful for. These are the staff, and these are my colleagues, the people I'm really privileged to work with and serve with. And they've all been amazing throughout the pandemic. And in this last year, each of them has been a wonderful gift to me. So I thank you to them. And also to all of you, because just the fact that you are here, you are still part of the parish, you're still supporting us in so many ways. The fact that you're here is something that really touches my heart, whether you're at home or in this room. Thank you for being a part of St. Paul's, and it really wouldn't be the same without you, because you are the parish. So thank you. Thank you to God in particular for many things. We have, this isn't advancing. There we go. Yeah, we have 20 new members in the last year. Now, that's not much, actually, because usually it's well more than that. But when you consider that we had 6 months without any in-person worship, that's actually okay. So we give thanks to God for all of the newcomers who have joined the parish. I'm trying to see if there's anybody in the room who has joined in the last year. It's not quite, but we thank God for that. And as well as for the 7 baptisms. Sorry, I have to keep looking around. That's usually way down, usually way higher than this, but the pandemic again. Father Chris, who, yes indeed. God has brought to us a young priest who is both wise beyond years and talented to the point of my personal envy. And we are extremely blessed to have him. And we know that when he has finished doing his extraordinary work in the day school as co-interim director, we have a really outstanding future ahead of us in our young people's ministry, our children and young adults and youth. It's been great to just have him as a colleague since September. We had 19 confirmations, which actually is as good as we usually have. 12 of those were young people and 7 of those were adults. We have consolidated our online worship. We have branched out in new acts of outreach and connection in our town and county. Specifically, I'm thinking of the work that we did, St. Paul's Cares, on the home of an elderly resident of the town back in the autumn. And there are a lot of intangibles. Those are all tangible things, numbers, if you like, and projects. But the intangibles that God has produced in us, his work that is unseen, is just as important and probably going to be more long-lasting. The intangibles of courage, flexibility, and faith to be here, to work, to continue to worship and do mission as a parish, even in very difficult times. So God has been doing something among us. So it's not about numbers, and it never is about numbers. I need to say that to myself so frequently because I'm always going on about numbers. But I just wanted to share with you the attendance patterns of pre-pandemic, mid-pandemic, and now. So 2 years ago, we'll take December as a typical month. It's not typical because no one goes to church on the last Sunday of December, but lots more go on the Sunday of the Advent lessons and carols. So those two kind of even themselves out. Our in-person attendance in 2019 was in total 844 for the month, at an average of 211 for a week. A year ago, there was no in-person worship in December 2020, but online attendance was over 1,200 for the month at an average of 300. And now, December 2021, in-person attendance, you'll see there 435, online attendance 519, so a total attendance of 238 per week in the month of December. So in other words, our in-person attendance is around 55% of what it was before the pandemic. Now that sounds very low, and it is, but actually that compares fairly well with people's experience throughout the country. Around 35 to 60% of church attendance has returned in parishes across the country. So 55% is okay. But when you add in the online attendance, we're actually at 113% of where we were in 2019. So that's a hopeful thing, an encouraging thing. People can question how much is an attendance online, compared to an attendance in the building. Are they really equal? And I think we have to say, yes, they are, because perhaps a person drops in for 10 minutes online. Well, if you're sitting in the building, sometimes you only drop in for 10 minutes as well, if you know what I'm saying. So that's good. That's all good stuff. And so guests are still coming. Now, the people who know about these things say that people check out churches for one of 5 reasons, all beginning with the letter D. These are people we have seen. In the last year, most weeks, I would say, at 9:30 in particular, there has been somebody whose name I don't know. And that's not just because I'm terrible with names, it's because they are like brand new. They are checking us out. And that is wonderful. The day anybody visits, the day we have even one guest, is a great day, and it gives us the opportunity to build relationship and to move forward with them in their Christian life. So these 5 reasons that people come to church, they check out a church: displacement. In other words, they move. And in the pandemic, we had a huge number of people moving into Westfield from Hoboken, Jersey City, the city itself, you know, for a variety of reasons to do with the pandemic or the economy. You know, everyone who owns a house in Westfield kind of appreciated that for what it did to their house values. So there are a lot of people who are new to our town, and some of them are checking out our church. People come to church because they feel a need for development, either for themselves or their children or their life partnership. Any kind of issue about, you know, I need to sort of connect with God, or I need my children to grow up, you know, having a real spirituality. So people come for that reason. They come for disasters, not to experience a disaster, but because a disaster is occurring. Divorce and death. I had those last because obviously those are painful events that drive people to church, but there are really good events as well. And we've seen all of those folks coming to us. Now, I want to just refer to my report from a really long time ago. As I was thinking about, you know, what I would say today, what, you know, my state of the parish address kind of thing, I was thinking, well, you know, this is 5 years now that I've been here, and so my theme has been different each time. 5 years ago, I started with the idea of you know, trying to identify who we are, and the parish has done a great job during the interim time of assessing who St. Paul's is. You know, what is our task? If God was going to remove one church from Westfield, why shouldn't it be us? You know, what do we do that is unique, that is vital in God's town-wide, county-wide church? What are we doing that no one else is doing for the sake of the gospel? And so that question is one that parish has always wrestled with during an interim, and they're invited, encouraged to do that by the diocese. So the first year is I tried to do some of that, and then I tried to sort of help us see a little bit bigger about connecting with folks outside the church. That led directly to new worship styles, new worship events in 2019, and the wonderful ministry and gifts of Father John Francis. And then, you know, we were thinking about 2 years ago, it was like, okay, so we had a great year in 2019. We added like 30% to our average Sunday attendance total through the new innovative worship opportunities. What we need now is a year of stability. So we need a year of building a sense of belonging, building a sense of community, particularly amongst those who are new to the parish. And then like a month later, the pandemic arrives. So we never did get the chance in these last 2 years to fulfill the vision and the goals that we were setting ourselves 2 years ago of building community. You know, it's hard to build community when you're not in the building. And we were simply not in the building. So at the end, not at the end of the pandemic, of course, but at this point in the pandemic, I think, so what is it now? You know, what does the parish need to do at this moment? Who actually are we? And I want us to return to that original question. You know, what is our task? What is the gift that St. Paul's is to Westfield and indeed to our whole county? 4 years ago, I said that this was what we were. I came up with another mnemonic, which was a 4-part mnemonic. These are things which St. Paul's has always been good at. You know, it was the case 50 years ago and will be the case in another 50 years. And it's the combination of things that makes us unique, right? Other churches may have one or more of these things. They may have other things, but no one has these 4 things that we have and that we can provide to our community. The primacy of preaching, the centrality of the Eucharist, the dignity of liturgy, which I've changed to ritual so that it fits the mnemonic, and the excellence of music. So this is Perm. Oops. These are our permanent characteristics. Personnel will come and go, projects will start and finish, but throughout our time as a parish, in the past, right now, and on into the future, this is who we are. This is our gift, this combination of four competencies, four ministries, which we do at a significantly high level of standard and skill, so that people can come here knowing that this is what they're going to get if they come here. And if they want these things, then this is where they come. Now, with Chris's arrival, I've been thinking some more about who we are, and I want to add another letter to the mnemonic. Just New Jersey. And it's there, intergenerational community. So we've gone from perm to prime. And as we look into the future, as we think about not just 2022, but what happens when the pandemic is finally over, and some semblance of new life is born, who are we going to be? What are we? When you talk to your friends about, so you went to church, well, what kind of church do you go to? Well, it's a church that is excellent in these 5 ways. And, if you come, then you are really going to have a deep experience of God as these 5 things are exercised among us. So what does that mean in specifics? Well, I've got some priorities for us for 2022. I think the number one priority that we have is to connect with folks who we've not seen since the start of the pandemic. And there are a lot of them. Okay, nominally our membership is over 1,000. Those folks who come reasonably regularly, folks you can guarantee will be here at least once every 4 to 6 weeks. That's many, many hundreds of people. It's not 1,000, but it's certainly several hundred before the pandemic. Now, those folks, some of them, I think are still absent because they are cautious, and we bless them for that. There's no superiority about either being cautious or coming to church. Everyone's equal. And so we bless them and say thank you for your faithfulness that you're still attending online. So some are cautious. Some are not coming for other reasons, though. It's not just a caution about the pandemic. For some folks, they just got out of the habit. For some, it will be that they now do something else on a Sunday morning, which they're now kind of fairly committed to doing. Some, it needs to be said, in any kind of highly stressful global phenomenon like a pandemic, people's faith will have been tested. Some may be struggling to connect with God again in their own spirituality, and so they might feel a bit hypocritical about coming back to church, or they might feel like, I don't know if church even kind of works for me anymore. So I would like it, as we all would, just to be, well, it's just people being cautious about the pandemic that's keeping away so many people. But actually, I think there are other reasons as well, and the reasons we can address and ready ourselves for. So my invitation to the whole parish, of both people sitting in the room, those watching live at home, and those watching the recording of this, is connect. Connect with folk. If there's somebody you haven't seen who's a St. Paul's person, if you've not seen them for months, give them a call or drop them an email. I think that those folks who are back in person and those folks who are committed to still taking part online, between us, we can probably reach all 1,000 plus of our nominal membership. Okay, so my encouragement is, in the next few weeks, as we approach Lent and then as we approach Easter, maybe just adopting as part of our Lenten practice, building community, being in touch with folk that we've lost touch with in the parish. And then let's build towards building over the course of the year, and maybe even at Easter Day, our cautions may be low enough for us to have, fairly healthy, normal Easter. So let's connect. We also need to develop our technology a lot better. I'm really grateful for all the folks who have been leading us in this particular aspect, particularly Mark. He's been amazing, but Brayton has been amazing. The people working the tech on Sunday mornings are incredible. Chris has been superb. So lots of people have been really taking the lead in this, but I recognise that a lot more we still need to do. For example, we still aren't able to build relationship with people who are only watching online. It challenges me that there are folk who are turning up and we don't know who they are. We don't know their names, their email addresses, anything about them. They're just a number that YouTube gives us. We need to build relationship with those folks, because even if they don't actually set foot in the building, they are now part of our community. They've been worshipping with us for a couple of years, and they're part of us. It'd be nice if they came to the building as well, but that's not something that we demand. We have another congregation now that meets online in their own living rooms. And I want us to get excited about who we are and what we're for. There is the great malaise, isn't there? I intimated in the sermon that, I wasn't aware that I was losing things for a year and a half. But the last 6 months, I have become aware of some things that I've been losing. And my sense of enthusiasm in life generally, not thinking about church, but just in general life, has dropped slightly in this time. And I think that is a result of the pandemic. And so I'm putting it down as a loss. And I know I'm not alone. We're all experiencing it. A lack of, drop of enthusiasm, perhaps low morale. You see it in the working world, the world of work, where people are just, quitting their jobs and just like, I'll live off savings for a few months. I was talking to my son in London yesterday, and he's like, nobody in London wants to work. They're always like, he said, the film Office Space, where the guy just says, I'm just not going to go in today. I just don't want to. I'm just going to stop doing that now. That's apparently what everyone's doing in London. But we're touched by this. The whole nation is in this place where we're trying to find motivation again. We're trying to work out, why we should even get out of bed, let alone go to work. And if that's where you're at with church, then let's work with each other. Let's take time to encourage one another, and as individuals, let's give some time to prayer, to scripture, to listening to services online, and ask God to give you that new renewed energy and sense of purpose and motivation. I think that's really important. Without that, then there's not really an awful lot we can do. But with that, I really do think we have a wonderful 2022 and on into the future. So thank you for listening to my report. I think that is probably the end of my report. Oh, I just lost the whole thing. Oh. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Good. The Treasurer's report.
Right. Hello, everyone. Is this a good spot here?
Yeah, you can be kind of closer to that. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it continues to be my pleasure to serve the church as treasurer. I've enjoyed the experience these last 7 or 8 years, whatever it's been, and I continue to. I draw your attention to the summary in particular in my treasurer's report. You can read the whole thing if you need a cure for insomnia. Please don't hesitate. But I do want to draw your attention to some things in there. First, the bad news, and that is that pledge income in 2021 fell short not only of budget, but also slightly lower than what was pledged. I expect that some of that will come through in January. It often does, but it's important. Pledging is what we need here to plan. Without pledges, we can't plan. It's wonderful to receive large contributions that aren't pledges. The PPP loan, of course, helped us out immensely in 2021, but we can't plan on those things. And so it makes it very challenging to determine what we're going to do here in terms of meet our expenses and all of that kind of thing without pledging. So while overall income was about where we expected in 2021, that is solely due to the PPP loan and to the extra non-pledged contributions, and we can't count on that going forward. And certainly there'll be no PPP loan, I don't expect, in 2022. So we did okay, but not like we should have. And so pledging is an incredibly important part. Now, some people will come to me and say, well, we have this MET, this Memorial Endowment Trust, which is a wonderful thing for the church to have, but it is not a piggy bank. It is designed for capital improvements and major expenses of the church. We just went through in 2021 the steeple repair. That's what it's for. It's not meant to draw hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to support the operation of the church. Pledging is meant for that. That's what pledging is for. And so I encourage anyone who hasn't pledged yet for 2022, online, here, please do. It allows us to plan the best way that we can. We try to make it easy too. There are online ways to pledge. You can go to stpaulswestfield.org/give, and the pledging form is right there. You can also donate through the same website, and we certainly encourage you to do that too. There are lots of great reasons for why we encourage online giving. It cuts down on the paper, the checks and paper we have to handle here in the church. The cash comes to the church more quickly. So please avail yourself of the online giving platform that we have. We did have about 90 parishioners give through online, which is great, but there's a lot more that we could do. And so we take about 20% or so of the of income through the online platform, but there's a lot more that we could do there. And so I want to encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. Now, a little bit about 2021. We did draw some money from the MET, and there's a reason for that. We have 3 funds in the MET that are designed for operations. The donors have said, you may use this money, some portion of this money, for buildings and grounds repairs, for Christian education, and for second clergy. And so we've done that. The diocese requires that we show that as income, and so we do. It used to be that we could put that, we could kind of sneak that income into expense offsets, and so it wouldn't show up as income that the diocese likes to look at for us, but we can't do that anymore. So we do have those sources, and we do use that, but that's not general operating support. And what we avoid here, and what we did last year for the 4th year in a row, we did not take any MET support for general operations, and we don't expect to in 2022. So that's something we finally got in line with 4 years ago, and we're going to continue that. But pledging still is an important part of how we can avoid tapping the MET for that. For 2022, the budget is in rough balance. We do expect a distribution of surplus from the day school. In years past, when the day school would have a surplus, and other than the pandemic year, 2020, they typically have had a surplus. We have a very healthy day school here, full to the brim, and with lots of great activities. And Father Chris is a huge part of that now, which is wonderful. In the years past, they would send that money to the MET, and it would sit there and wait for particular projects perhaps that the day school would have, but it is now required to be reported through the church's operations. And so what we would have done in the past perhaps was they would send the money to the MET, and then we would draw it out for operations. We don't need to do that anymore. We ought not to do that anymore. So the budget does include a distribution of surplus from the day school. And then The expenses of the church are increased in 2022 from 2021. And there's three main reasons for that. One is Father Chris's joyful arrival here. He arrived in September, or August, I guess it was. And so we only had a partial year of expense in 2021. Now we'll have a full year of expense, gratefully, because of what Father Chris brings to the parish. But it's expected. In addition to that, various insurance expenses are up over last year, as probably all of you know, and utility expenses are higher. And so we've had to budget in an increase for utilities expenses as well. So with all of that, expenses are up, income is looking okay. We still need the pledge income. That's really what, if you take anything away from what I've tried to share with you today, it's that pledge income is paramount here. And if you have not pledged, or if you're inclined to perhaps, if I persuaded you in some measure to increase your pledge, we welcome that. Please be in touch with us, with Laura in the office, with any of us, me directly if you want. My email address is in the church's directory. Please be in touch with us to let us know. And by the way, in general, if you do have questions about how these things work around here, obviously I work very closely with the vestry, the wardens, the rector, and the assistant rector all the time, the finance committee. But I'm always happy to take questions from any parishioner anytime. So please don't hesitate to be in touch with me. I am very grateful for the work of Arlette Pichardo, who is our bookkeeper, as well for John Walker, who handles virtually all of our accounting these days in pandemic times. We really would like to have some more folks help with that. If you're interested in that, you can be in touch with me, Father Duncan. Just be in touch because we'd really like to get some folks to help with that. And I'm grateful for working with the vestry, working with the wardens, working with the priests here. It's made this an enjoyable time, an enjoyable service to the church. Are there any questions? Anything online? Okay.
Don't speak up now. Throw
Okay. If you want to speak up online, please do. Unmute yourself. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Excellent. Could I have a motion to accept the Treasurer's report, please? Thank you, Alex Stotler. Second, Mary Ann Wilson. All those in favour? Against? Thank you very much, Kevin. Brilliant. So, a stewardship report. Alex, please.
Thanks very much to Kevin. The amount of work Kevin puts in is really, really inexplicable. He does so much, and without the data that he produces, none of it would really be possible. Also, thank you to Annette, Gail, and Nancy Voss. Much work has gone into the stewardship committee this year, and it's been a pleasure working with them as well. As you can see from the report, we have 119 pledges for 2022. We are continuing to reach out, and we have about 65% of our pledges from last year, as well as about 65% of our $750,000 goal. So we're hoping the additional 35% whom have not pledged for 2022 that have pledged in 2021 will do so in the next few weeks. That being said, as Father Duncan was speaking about earlier, possibly a way to get some of that activity, to see some more pledging activity, is to reach out to those that you have not seen or heard from, that is, in the parish. And hopefully, just reaching out to people can kind of encourage people to become more active. Clearly, the challenges of the pandemic have obviously, affected the pledges this year. But, as Kevin had said, it's really, really easy to pledge online, just by going to St. Paul's. That's really it. Does anybody have any questions about? Go ahead.
It's the online pledge form is throwing up an error right now. I've been trying for the last couple of days. I actually just sent a screenshot of it before, but if we're not seeing this on it over the last, I don't know how long it's been like that, but at least yesterday today.
But that's good to know. Yes.
Want to repeat that comment for people at home?
That's what I'm trying to type right now.
Yeah, it's been mentioned that possibly the pledging portal is not working properly. And I think Kevin and Laura will get that fixed immediately. I actually was on it the other day and I didn't have an issue, just by looking at it, but I don't know.
Try adding a zero to your pledge.
Any other questions? Questions at home?
Thanks very much, Alex. I should mention also Annette Hughes, who was the co-chair of the committee this year. So well done to both of you. Thank you. The Met report, that is in your pack. John Burke, the new clerk of the Met, is where we all want to be today in Florida. So he sends his best wishes, and his report is right here. So please take time to read that, as well as the other reports that follow in the pack. Follow the Met report. If you wrote a report, thank you so much. Wonderful. Just encourage yourselves by reading this. It's full of some really great things. Thank you. So item 6, I'm half apologetic for this because it's not the most riveting or interesting item of the agenda. That is, we're going to amend the bylaws. If you've turned to the last couple of pages of your pack, you'll see there revision of the Parish Bylaws 2022. And a page and a half about something called the Nominating Committee. Now, this is what's in the bylaws at the minute. The Nominating Committee has been a body that exists between the vestry and the parish, and its purpose has been to get together the slate that we have each year at the annual meeting, the slate of new lay leaders. The reality is that was probably necessary a long time ago when there were 2,000 people at St. Paul's and average Sunday attendance was 1,000 and 1,000 children in the Sunday school. And the vestry couldn't know everybody. And so it needed a nominating committee. And now I don't believe there is a need for a nominating committee. In fact, it's become something of a hindrance to us because we have to find people to serve on this committee and give up 2 or 3 evenings. And it's difficult to find people to do the more important work of the church without sort of using people to serve on committees that don't really serve a very good purpose. So the vestry and I have passed a resolution amongst ourselves to amend the bylaws in this specific way. So that whole page and a half there, under the current wording of Article 1, Section 11, replaced by proposed new wording that you'll see on the second page and going into the third page. If you received this report in advance, then you'll have had a chance to read that. I've been particularly concerned that we don't lose any accountability. It's important that it's the parish who elects people, not the vestry and not the rector. But the new wording, the new form of this section would safeguard that by forcing the vestry to go out to the parish in October to ask for nominations for the vestry or wardens. So in fact, it's actually slightly more accountable than before, because that kind of announcement was never made up until now. Assuming enough people are here who have read that, I'd like to put this to a vote. So it's also available as a vote online. So Mark is going to go to, question from Mary Lynn.
Yeah, I have a question. It uses the name Inspire in the language. And this is a relatively recent change in our bylaws. Is there anywhere else in the bylaws that explains what Inspire is? And if it was not, I would suggest a friendly amendment to simply say the church newsletter Inspire on that first edition.
Yes.
And then after that say Inspire, because otherwise you're adding terms of the bylaws that is not defined.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Mary Lynn.
Friendly amendment suggestion.
Yes.
If I may make it.
Yes, thank you. For folks at home, Mary Lynn just pointed out that Inspire is a relatively new part of our communications. It might not go on forever, and so for the sake of clarity in the permanent bylaws, we should clarify what Inspire actually is by inserting parish newsletter in that sentence. Anything else, please? Yes, Mary.
It states the rector shall nominate candidates for the position of warden.
Yes.
So is that suggesting that the rector is the only one who can make that nomination?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the feeling of the vestry and me that there should be a division of powers, as it were, and in many other parishes, the wardens are selected by the rector, and the vestry members selected by the parish without the rector's involvement. And I would like to have that as our practice here, for the sake of accountability, but also because I think the role of warden, it's so crucial that person has a solid relationship with the rector. If I could see a situation where if a warden were to be elected by, or appointed by the vestry, essentially, that could be a way of creating conflict and yeah. So that's what we would like to suggest. Yeah.
Remind people on the chat that PDF has been uploaded to the chat.
Right. Yeah, the PDF of the report has been uploaded to chat if you didn't get it in the mail this week.
And it's at the bottom of the screen.
And it's on the bottom of the screen that you're looking at. Okay, so with that one amendment to include parish newsletter before the word inspire, can we move to a vote? This is a motion that has been passed by the vestry. It is proposed and seconded by the two wardens. And can we move to a vote, please? Mark is going to do that on line. If you're online, then you should see a voting slip appear on your screen. You simply vote yes or no. And in the room, all those in favour of this resolution, please, if you will show. Those against? Thank you. Unless there are like loads of people at home who vote no.
There are 21 respondents. We have 20 positive yays, 2 no's.
Okay. All right. That is carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item is the election of our lay leaders. So the slate was issued earlier in the week. It was on the notice board and the front door as well. And if you didn't pick up a ballot, it is at the back. You can go and pick one up now. The first thing is for the position of warden, we have Elisa Gallagher, who has been nominated. Are there any other nominees? Everyone still has to be endorsed by the parish. Yeah, sorry. In that case, nominations are closed and Elisa Gallagher is elected warden. 6 members of the vestry. For the first term, Paula Zubak and Anne Westfilling, both are present. Paula and Anne, do you want to stand up and wave? Yay. And re-elections, Leslie Shimai, Ryan O'Connor, Eric Sarrazin and Rosemary Woods. Are there any other nominations, please? Nominations are closed. Congratulations to those 6. Delegates for convention, Barbie Bart, Jeff Dunham and Braden Walker. Any further nominations, please? We can actually have 6 delegates, I've just been told recently. So if anybody would like to nominate somebody else, Barbie?
That's for convocation.
Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong piece. Yeah. Any other nominations for convention delegates? That is closed and those folk are elected. Delegates to convention, we can have 6. Sorry, convocation. They should use 2 words that don't sound the same. Any other nominations, please, for delegates to the convocation? Okay, nominations closed, those 3. Friends of Music, Bing Bills, Carol Dunham, Bill Havlina, Michael Rosen and Aldo Scrofani. Any other nominations? Thank you, that's closed. And Day School Board, Teresa Wright and Amelia Sarrazin. Any further nominations? Thank you, those 2 are elected as well. So that concludes the elections. Thank you very much. I have a couple of courtesy resolutions. So this is what we've already kind of acknowledged, but I want to formalise it with these words. Be it resolved that the parish of St. Paul recognises and honours Gail Jacob for her service as church warden and Nancy Boss and Elisa Gallagher for their service as vestry members. Their dedication to their Christian faith and commitment to the family of St. Paul was demonstrated by the exemplary contributions they have each made to the operations and ministries of the parish. We recognise and thank them for their service in Christ and wish them joy in their future life and membership in our St. Paul's community. All those in favour? Thank you. And finally, it is our custom to make a presentation to an individual in the parish who, not just in the last year, but throughout their time with us, has contributed something very substantial, and we want to give a special thank you to that person. And so, they're not actually here this morning. I hope they're watching online. It's kind of like the Oscars, isn't it? You're not going to know who it is until I say their name. Okay. Whereas our Lord set forth this great commandment, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And whereas Christian people are called to respond with faith to this commandment, and whereas Alexander Antonelli, as member of this parish, has by word and deed proved faithful to his Lord through selfless leadership and exemplary work for God's kingdom, be it now therefore resolved that the congregation of St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Westfield, New Jersey, does name Alexander Antonelli as the recipient of the St. Paul's Church Distinguished Service Award. I hope you took all that down, Mary. Okay. The reason we chose Alex is because he has been our pro bono architect for many years. He has overseen projects. He knows the building, the campus intimately well. And just in the last year, with particularly the work on the steeple and the courtyard, he was manager of those projects. Did it, completely out of love and with great passion. And so that was the reason we selected him. And so, Alex, thank you.
He is honored and very grateful.
Okay, good. Thank you. Is there any other business? Okay, at exactly 12 p.m, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Marilyn and Alex, thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for all you've done this year. Yes, thanks a lot.